The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of my Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. In 2016, Issa Rae had gotten her own television series called Insecure. I knew of Issa Rae already because of her web series, Awkward Black Girl. While I was too young at the time to really understand what was going on in Awkward Black Girl, I was really happy to see a filmmaker who used YouTube as their way to get their work pushed out and eventually was able to get a show on network television. I mean, it's not network television, you have to pay extra, but you guys know what I mean, alright? And what made this so much inspirational for me is because she is a black woman, like I am. I was in middle school during the days of Awkward Black Girl, but I was in high school when Insecure came out. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm older now, I may get it. And I couldn't get into it, y'all. I'm sorry. Y'all have asked me about Insecure numerous times. It is just not my cup of tea. It wasn't for me, but that's okay. Not everything is going to be catered to me individually. I'm not the targeted audience for this series, and that's alright. Moving on to a year later, we get a little horrible ass show called Grownish. I couldn't even wait to get that one out. It's just awful. But what made me want to watch this series in the first place is because I was a big fan of Chloe and Halle. I found Chloe and Halle through their YouTube channel, and their YouTube channel is what helped them gain exposure, even getting recognized by the queen bee herself, Beyonce. I love when people use YouTube as a way to push out their talents, alright? And I barely finished the first season. The show is like so damn awful. Like, what the actual fuck is this? And as someone who likes a lot of bad content, I just couldn't enjoy it. I hate Zoe Johnson. I hated her in Blackish, and then a whole entire show that revolved around her didn't make it any better. But it wasn't just Zoe that was my issue with the show. It was all the characters, because I didn't really like anyone in this series. And also, it was just really bad writing. Moving on. So, January of 2022, I saw that Quinta Burson's new show, Abbott Elementary, was coming out. And I was like, Quinta? As in Millie Rock on every block, Quinta? As in where y'all get y'all water from, Quinta? As in Quinta, the queen of BuzzFeed, Quinta? So of course I wanted to watch it. You know what they say, 3 times the charm, right? So I did. I gave it a chance, and I love it. And I love it so much. It is one of the best things that has come out of this personal pan pizza we are in. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna, and welcome to or welcome back to the pirate ship, also known as Harry Hook's pirate ship. I am the captain. You are not my first bait. I don't got no first bait because you want to know why? Bring your ear closer to the speaker so you can hear me clearly. Nobody's worthy of being the first mate. Hi, hello, my name is Harriyanna, and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues within those spaces. And honestly, Abbott Elementary feels like a family show. It really, truly does. And I want to sit here and talk about it. Now, Abbott Elementary, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, it is one of the best things to come out of this personal pan pizza that we can't fucking seem to get out of. This is the first time in a while where I have seen something so original on TV or just entertainment in general. But what drew me to watch this in the first place is because I and many other people have never seen anything like this. Like, yes, it is a mockumentary show. Everybody's pretty familiar with The Office and Parks and Recreations, but they took that style of filmmaking and put it in an elementary school. As this show focuses on an underfunded school with a majority black population. Y'all, that's literally my childhood. Never would I have thought that I would have seen a show about this experience. And I'm glad that it's created by someone who also shares the same experience as I did. So what is Abbott Elementary about? It's about a school named Abbott Elementary. No, but seriously, it's a show about the staff at Abbott Elementary and the relationships they build between themselves as friends and co-workers, all while trying to do their best to care for the students at their school because it's obvious that the school board ain't doing shit to help them. And the center of it all is Janine, a woman who could not wait to be a teacher. We see that she's in her mid-20s, she's so full of life, she's super duper excited, she loves being at her job. She lives to teach, okay? We get to see how difficult the job is for her, especially when it comes to dealing with students that young. Played by Quinta herself, getting her Lin-Manuel Miranda on. But anyway, as the season goes on, we get to pick up things about Janine that explain why she acts the way she does. For one, her boyfriend, who she has been with since the 8th grade, literally is using her for her money and her car. And Jacob makes it known to her that he doesn't fucking like him because he treats Janine like shit. He's not a good boyfriend to her at all. One of Janine's friends from college becomes a new art teacher at the school, and we see that she pushes her around and she's awful to her. Janine also wants her students to see her as the cool teacher. And from the comments she has made about her childhood and why she wants to get closer to Barbara, we figure out that the relationship between Janine and her mother isn't the best. And because of all the hardships in her life, Janine just wants to help people. Even Ava has shown numerous times that she don't like Janine, but Janine just doesn't care because Janine genuinely likes her. And that's what makes Ava comes around to her because of how nice she is. And Janine honestly has great people skills. She rarely yells. She stands up for her students when needed to. But she still has so much to learn when it comes to teaching. As many teachers see their job as a way to keep the lights on, we see that Janine, her co-workers, even Ava, who is so damn hilarious, enjoy what they do. But here we get to see that Janine is fragile. She breaks down, she gets upset, and she acts out of character even. And those are the best part of the show because we get to see that she's human. She doesn't have it all together, and that's okay. And she just accepts it. Okay, so we are live from the editing room because this is actually the only way I'm gonna be able to get this done. Y'all, I am like, okay, this is not working. So this is what happened. My audio got fucked again, and I am so pissed. So you know what? We're gonna do the rest. We're gonna re-record Greg's section of this video on face cam because I just can't right now. Everything just feels like too much. It's literally 1 a.m. and I'm still editing this thing as if I don't have school tomorrow and I still have that paper that I still need to work on that I am only 3/7 of the way finished with. So you know what? I'm gonna get on here and do the face cam. I know y'all love all the edited stuff and everything like that. But here I'm going to talk about Greg's character, who is played by the also fine Tyler James Williams. That is a beautiful ass man. By the way, if any of you guys say anything about my forehead, you're getting blocked. Greg, when we're introduced to him in the series, we find out that he went to college to be a principal. That is like his lifelong goal. That is his dream of his, to be a school's principal, because that is what he's passionate about. So he's pissed when he found out that Ava was blackmailing the superintendent into giving her this job. And y'all want to know what he did? She caught him cheating on his wife. He ends up marrying that woman that he was cheating with. So he tried to get rid of Ava, and I remember it was one particular scene in this show that really stood out to me, because it was a conversation between Greg and his father, where his dad felt as if Greg wasn't doing life correctly, if that made sense, because he felt as if him being a teacher was not a real job and it wasn't a good job. And both of those statements are untrue. Teaching is such a difficult job. Not everyone can do it, and they are so underpaid. So his dad was just saying a whole bunch of bullshit to him, and he was just really frustrated with that. But as time passes, as we get to know Greg a little bit better as the series goes on, we see that he's not ready. He's absolutely not ready to be a principal. Because I remember there was one particular scene, this is actually one of my favorite Greg moments in the show, where he had contacted Barbara about how he needed help with teaching his students. So she brought Melissa on with her, and they were like, okay, show us how you're teaching so we can see the issue. Basically, Greg felt as if his students were asking like stupid ass questions, and Melissa and Barbara were like, no, they're actually not asking stupid questions, but they also were low-key telling him that if you make a kid feel stupid, they're not gonna like you. They're not gonna wanna learn from you at all.
Is one of the turkeys pregnant?
One of my kids asked the same thing.
Because it's a good question, and it shows that they're using critical thinking.
It's irrelevant.
No, it might be silly to you, but to them, it might be an important question that if they don't get it answered, they can't focus.
That is one thing that I am going to need so many teachers and coaches and whatnot to get people to understand that if you treat your students like they're stupid, it's gonna make it harder and harder for them to want to learn from you. But the funniest thing that I picked up about Greg is why he's not ready to be a principal is because he needs to work on his people skills. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being reserved, but working in a school, let alone a principal, you need to know how to talk to people. Say what y'all want about Ava. Yes, she is horrible at her job, but she don't have no issue with talking to people. That's one thing that she mastered. But working in a school, this is one of those jobs where you need to talk to and understand others for the best outcome. Like, let me go ahead and talk to y'all about this nail salon scene. This actually is one of my favorite moments from this show, because there was this mom who kept bringing her kid into school late while the lesson had already began. Because of that, he wasn't doing well in that subject because he wasn't learning the full lesson, and he ended up falling behind. But Greg didn't know how to get the mother to listen to him, because anytime she tried to come in the room, he would say, hey, and then she would walk out. He goes to Barbara for guidance like a lot of the younger teachers at this school do. He basically meets Barbara at the nail salon where she gets her nails done. And next thing you know, she caught him because he was like, what is she doing here? And he was like, oh no, you're gonna talk to her. She gets her nails done here at the same time I do. This is the best way to catch her. If you want something to be done about her bringing her kid in late as hell for class, you're gonna talk to her now. And basically, he would not have talked to her if Barbara did not push him to do it. He's not ready to be a principal. And also, I really do enjoy his dynamic with Mr. Johnson, who is the school's custodian, because he's that older male father figure that he really needs in his life at the moment, because his father is not doing that for him. His father's not being supportive of him. Mr. Johnson actually sits and understands Greg because he's been through that. He's been in a similar situation before. And he tells him that that dream that you've been chasing after for so long, you may not be ready for it yet. And you may want to figure out other things you enjoy, because life isn't all about reaching that one goal. There's so much more to this. It's about finding out other things and having other interests and having other jobs and having so many different dynamics between the people that you interact with. Because I kid you not, if Greg actually did become the principal and not one of the teachers, he's a substitute teacher, his relationship that he built with his coworkers would most likely be different. Representation matters. Let's get into it. This show is proof that there's so many different aspects to the Black experience that have yet to be told. And that's why I loved Bring It so much. Last summer, I made a video talking about the reality television show that used to air on Lifetime called Bring It, where people basically called it Black Dance Moms because that's literally what it was. But this was one of the first times that we ever saw a show, not even a show, just representation in general of a majorette dance team. Something that is a big part of Black culture down here in the South. Never would I have thought I would see that on my television screen, let alone by Lifetime, alright? Oftentimes when we get shows about Black people, so much of the story revolves around drugs and violence and gangs and clubs and partying. And while there's nothing wrong with those stories, because those are some Black people's lives and they deserve to be represented as well, that's not all there is to Blackness. Because I noticed that is a big issue that I see with so many of the Black books by Black authors on Wattpad, is that so many of them are just stuck on this one aspect of Blackness and don't talk about much else. And those are the books that get like the most attention. The Black stories that do talk about other Black experiences don't really get any traction. Abbott Elementary is a form of Blackness that we have yet to see portrayed in our media, and this is one of the few times that I have seen my childhood portrayed accurately in a TV show. Like, never would I have thought when I was in elementary school there would be a show about what it was like to work at one. Like, this show feels so real, and it doesn't feel like I'm watching a show sometimes, because I could recall so many of the events that happened in this series also happening in my childhood. But what about this makes Abbott Elementary so great and stand out from other content? Because people who have experienced this are the ones in charge of it. Black people should tell Black stories. As people try to argue and say, this isn't just a Black story, it's a story for everyone. And yes, I get that everyone is allowed to watch Abbott Elementary. This show isn't just limited to its Black audience. But this is telling the story of the Black experience here in America from the perspective of children under the age of 11 and the adults that work at their school. The main issue that we get into with Black shows being created by white people, or having a mostly white team working behind the scenes, is that sometimes they simply just don't get it and they don't understand why certain things don't work. Because one thing I absolutely cannot stand is when I'm watching television and there's a Black character and it's nighttime and they don't have nothing covering their head. I'm like, where's the do-rag? Where's the bonnet? That's obviously not a satin pillow they put in their head on. Like, it's just little things like that where it's just kind of frustrating because they simply just don't understand what it is like to be Black and how we do things differently. I watched this pilot. I was sucked in because I felt seen. I went to an elementary school where I had to wear uniforms. I had teachers like Melissa who I thought were mean, but really they just didn't take no shit from nobody. I had a very nice older woman like Barbara to guide me. I had a horrible ass but very fun principal like Ava. I had difficult classmates like Courtney who always interrupted the class. Hell, even sometimes I was Courtney. I used to wear cute little cornrows in my head all the time to school with the little bows and beads in them. I've had substitute teachers like Greg that were just always at the school. My school also had a step team, and we used to have local artists come to the school to perform for us. I felt seen. And I'm glad to know that other Black people who went to schools with a majority Black population and were also extremely underfunded can relate. But I know some of you guys are maybe wondering why in the beginning did I feel the need to bring up Grownish and Insecure, and there's two reasons for that. One, because I love it when I see internet personalities, especially those who are using the internet to share their talents. I love when I see that they're actually getting somewhere with their work. Like, I've been a fan of Quinta since she got money, he got money. And then also, like I said, I've been a fan of Chloe and Hadley before their Disney Channel days because I found them on like Spoken Reasons like YouTube channel, and they used to do covers and everything like that. And I also was familiar with them with being in Tyler Perry Productions. And with Insecure, I never really could get into Issa Rae's work, but seeing how she is a Black woman not racially ambiguous whatsoever. It makes me happy to see that a black woman like her was able to use the internet to her best advantage to get herself a show and be in all these movies and stuff like that. That's the reason why I felt the need to bring that up, because that was the main reason why I wanted to support these shows in the first place. And that's the main reason why I wanted to support Abbott Elementary, because I know about Quinta's history with posting her work online, and then her working with BuzzFeed, and then having other shows and stuff in the past. Like Quinta versus Everything was hilarious. Y'all should go watch it. Is it still up? Is it still up? I don't know, we'll go see. But also the other reason why I brought that show up is because there's always this conversation going on, especially like within the black community, is that people are saying, why do we need more black shows? Y'all already have this and that and the third. And one, there's still so much television out here that solely focuses on white people, or mostly white people, and the representation that we have within those series are not good, which is why we went off and started making our own movies and our own shows and our own series where we were the center focus. Because I remember this was a big deal in the 90s, where we have movies like Jason's Lyric and Friday and Set It Off and Eve's Bayou and things like that, because these are all different stories about blackness, and especially the black experience here in America. But also when you think about it, because somebody was talking about how black people do not watch these new black shows that are coming out. Black people don't watch their own shows. And I would like to bring some nuance to this conversation, because yes, I will go ahead and admit it, that a lot of black people are haters. They are haters. They literally don't be wanting to see another black person doing good or doing better than them. That's one thing. But the other thing to consider is, why aren't they watching these shows? Are they not watching it because it doesn't appeal to them? Because half the time that's usually what it is. Because I was so happy to see that we had got that Black Witch show, because I do watch a lot of content about witches. I even worked on a show for a bit about witches. I added witches within my web series The Progenies, and seeing that we ended up getting that Black Witch show on Netflix, and seeing it was low-key slave fan fiction, it turned me off from it, and it turned many people off from it and not wanting to watch that, because it made us really uncomfortable. And back in the day, the only time we really had black shows were like, you know, those great sitcoms that a lot of moments in it did not age well, but they still hold up to today's standards, like The Fresh Prince and Moesha and The Parkers, and I'll throw Everybody Hates Chris in there as well. And I also mentioned how Grownish was not for me. I can't stand it. It's not my cup of tea. Insecure, I don't have no feelings towards it. I don't like nor do I dislike the series. It's just kind of there because I'm not the targeted audience for that. That is just not what I'm interested in. But Abbott Elementary is something that I actually found that I do enjoy, and I do consume a lot of other black content, because I'm getting ready to start watching All American Homecoming, because I really am interested in band culture and, like, you know, the HBCU bands and everything like that. That's like a big thing within the black community in America, where I tried to watch a show similar to that called The Quad years ago on BET, and it was terrible. So I was like, let me try to give this show a chance to see if I like it. And then I also mentioned how I was a fan of Bring It, that aired on Lifetime, and that was my demographic because I had a similar upbringing, especially at the time when the show was on air, to the people within the show. The reason why so many black people aren't watching a lot of black shows is, one, because they're haters, but that's not what we're talking about, but two, so many of them can't find content that really, like, you know, is what they want to see. Because I was super duper happy to see that Craig of the Creek was a show about black people, and so much of the series just doesn't work for me because I'm not interested in anything that has to do with the Creek. But I love the aspect when it comes to the family. Half of the show is just not for me. I also love the part of the family. I also really enjoy that part of Craig of the Creek where it's not focused too much on the family but other people in general. But that's why I was so happy to see that The Proud Family was coming back, because The Proud Family is one of my favorite black shows, but I have seen those episodes so many times. I know the show like the back of my hand. I can't stand the movie because I genuinely think it's terrible, but it's my trash because it's comforting. I'm glad to see that we do have another black cartoon that's currently out on air. And as well, we have Karma's World, which is a show that's targeted towards younger black children, but I'm glad that little girls and little black boys and just little black children in general do have that kind of preschool show. Like, I'm happy that they had Doc McStuffins. Doc McStuffins, I watched that when I was in high school simply because it was something that I wish I had when I was younger, and it's actually very relaxing to watch. When it comes to black content, people tend to get upset when they're saying, why do y'all continue to make so many shows out here that just focus on black people or a majority of black people when y'all already had this show that does this and this show that does that? Why is it that white people get to have so many different shows about them and what they do, but black people, we can't have that? Because I remember people were throwing like the biggest fit about Black Lightning and how it was a majority black cast and everything like that. But I'm like, if you look at all these other superhero shows on the CW, most of them focus on white people. This is one of the times where this is not about y'all. Y'all go sit down and we gonna do this. And one thing that really bothers me about it is that so many white people seem to think that black people and just people of color in general, especially when it came to, like, you know, Asian people creating their own things like Crazy Rich Asians and Turning Red and To All the Boys I Loved Before, they tend to think that these works that feature all Asian casts, all Latino casts, and all black casts, they tend to think that shows that feature these marginalized groups of people is gonna lessen how much content they're getting. And I'm just like, are y'all not paying attention? Because there is so much new shit. Something new every day comes out on Netflix that focuses strictly on white people. Go watch all them Lifetime movies on the Lifetime Movie Network. There's a whole bunch of white people in them. Go watch the Hallmark Channel. There's a whole bunch of white people in those films. Y'all are still getting that all white representation, okay? Just because a few black shows come here and there, and a few Latino shows come here and there, and Asian shows and whatever, that's not gonna take away the representation that y'all have. Y'all have more than enough representation. Stop being selfish. Like, there's enough room out here for everyone. There's enough money out here for everyone. Everyone deserves to have their story be told. And it's really frustrating because, like I had mentioned, I'm not really into a lot of those shows like Power and, you know, Snowfall and everything like that because of the subject matter. I find it very scary. That's part of the reason why I was so skeptical about watching Bel-Air, the Bel-Air reboot, because I noticed that was a big part of the storyline. But I saw how we were slowly waving out of that. That's why I actually did give it a chance, and I actually really do enjoy it. I'm like, there's not one kind of blackness. Like, that's one thing that frustrates me so much, is because people think this is the only form of storytelling that we have, especially people think this is the only form of storytelling that sells as well. There's so many different kinds of things that go into growing up black and growing up in a culture where you're mainly around people that look like you and the hardships that come along with that as well. Abbott Elementary is a story that should be told because it represents that specific group of people. That's rude as hell for y'all to say we don't get to have this show because you think it's going to take away from something else. The Office is still there. Parks and Recreations is still there. Modern Family is still there. All them white ass mockumentaries that y'all be watching all the time, they're not going anywhere. Just let us have a mockumentary for once. I enjoy it. I love Abbott Elementary, and I highly do recommend. I'm mainly uploading this on the day of the season 1 finale, but basically the whole show is out to watch. Go do it. Highly recommend. And I absolutely cannot wait for season 2. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it because I had a lot of fun making it. If you guys like my hoodie, it's my Zoe Lee hoodie from my store. Got the I Love You right there at harriyannahook.com. It's not for sale yet, but it will be before the end of April. You guys want to know the way to support me? I have Patreon, I have Ko-fi, I have Buy Me a Coffee. Donation links will be down below. Also have merch at harriyannahook.com, as well as a web show that you could watch for free called The Progenies. The link to that will be down below as well. Don't forget to follow me on everything at Harriyanna, HARRIYANNA. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good night.
just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay.